So for our root vegetables, this time around we are working the part 2. Alright, so this time around we are very particularly interested in the idea of conflict because every day both our kids right now they are grown up, but their age gap is quite big. So there is a lot of misunderstanding, when they play, the way they talk to each other. So every now and then something will occur, and then as parents we sometimes have to jump in, but we don't know how to deal with it. So while we are working on this story, there is also other things that happening during this whole period, especially when we talk about the international war. A lot of things doesn't make sense. So we feel like a lot of things that happen around the world, even back home, a lot of things just doesn't make sense these days. So writing a story, creating a story like this actually help us to kind of slow down and look at things at a different angle at the same time.
How is nature important for families? Actually, we do love nature as a family. Like just between me and you, we also love to go trekking and be in touch with nature. And we also want to include our children, as much as we can. That's why we also made this story that's got to do with root vegetable, the root of nature.
So I think for me is going back to this whole idea of traditional storytelling. Like for us, we like to explore, something that is like very basic back to how we started. Because right now, even as today, a lot of schools, even right now, everyone seems to be jumping into digital, like whether watching on TV, iPad, even learning, education, are all going there. So for us, like the idea of going back to nature and sustainability is really to go back to our roots, like touching something very tactile, working with clay, and then let the kids know that all this like fiber paper clay, actually the paper itself comes from the wood bark, and then the clay comes from deep under the ground. So because right now kids these days everything all just go screen. So as parents we feel like we need to do our part, to reintroduce them back, try to go back into reading on something that is tactile like this, like paper, something they can see, rather than everything is just straight off from the screen.
Actually, youngsters have this term called touch grass.
Touch grass?
Yeah, so go outside and touch some grass. So I think what we do is very much like telling people, come, touch grass, touch nature.
Okay, so for the process for our work, right, we started off a lot with 2D drawings, to visualize how every scene, how it can turn out. Then I felt at the same time not enough to kind of sense that whole space. So creating sculpture makes more sense after that. So from 2D we jump into something like this. So this kind of work is a little bit like half 2D, half 3D. It's a little bit like relief work, which is something that I'm very inspired from, going through a lot of, walking through all the temples, whether we visit in Nepal and places like that. We see a lot of this kind of traditional sculptures on the wall, and they are very, very interesting way of storytelling. So I was very inspired by it because there is some text, but we can't read. But at the same time, because of all these flat sculptural works, it actually opens up a lot of my imagination in the dialogue that's happening. So, for example, if you look at temples between two gods or animals, we always have this dialogue that inside my head. So that's something that I want to create with this kind of work, where we see two children fighting one another, or having some kind of disagreement. As parents, before we step in, we always assume. That's the first thing, because we can see the reaction, and then we will tend to overreact sometimes. So works like this, I like to keep it very open. It's kind of like showing how our family situation, sometimes at home we see conflicts, we just all this dialogue that's happening.